Alrighty, it's time. A little bit delayed, but nothing's gonna stop us from meeting up here for our seventh lucky number 7 on lucky number Friday the 13th. So we're here together, myself, Danny, Colin, Super, Chris, Holden, and Darth. Back again together.
Start over.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. Episode 7. We'll see you next. No, anyways, we're here to talk about our randomly selected video game from everybody's favorite wheel, a game chosen by one of the 6 of us. And this month, we're here for the first second round pick, which happens to be Colin's Illusion of Gaia. And I know, Colin, you picked this game because it's definitely near and dear to you. So I'll go ahead and, pass it on to you.
Sure. So I had a vision of like looking up some developer commentary history to try to give a little insight into the development of this game, but it was like 8,000 years ago, so I didn't find a whole lot. I found some good stuff on Terra Nigma, obviously by the same people, and the last game of this like unofficial spiritual trilogy of Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terra Nigma, but I didn't find a whole lot on Illusion of Gaia. So I'm just going to kind of like run through the Spark Notes bullet points of some like who made the game when it came out, some interesting tidbits I found. And then I'm just going to kind of roll right into my thoughts on the matter, sort of like opening thoughts. So anyway, without further ado, it was developed by Quintet. Their first game that they made was ActRaiser, and then after that, Soul Blazer, ActRaiser 2, and then Illusion of Gaia. So
is Enix the publisher then?
Yeah, Enix was the
I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah, Enix was the publisher in Japan specifically for this game. That's all I know is that they were the publisher in Japan, and Nintendo in PAL, and well, really everywhere else, but primarily North America and PAL. Skipping ahead a little bit in what I wanted to talk about, but since we're talking about PAL and North America versus Japan, in Japan and North America, the game was titled Illusion of Gaia, but in PAL it was Illusion of Time, which, given your kind of journey through the game and ultimately the ending, I think can be almost a better fit. I think there's neat ways to sort of unpack and find meaning in either, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, when you mentioned that to me, I didn't know that at all. But when you mentioned that to me, that's why I said to you, I was like, wow, that, like, both of them check out. But Illusion of Time is definitely a super solid title. Like, sometimes games have, like, weird, like we did Contra 3, and, like, it was called Super Probotector, like that weird portmanteau. Like, sometimes they drop the ball, but I feel like that this is a case where both of them, like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of go back and forth on which one I like more. I think ultimately it's Illusion of Time, but that's probably because, like, I really like Chrono Trigger and things like that.
Look at that logo treatment, though, for Illusion of Gaia. That's really
such a good logo. I was going to say that.
Yeah. I don't want to keep, like, derailing, but this has to be my favorite box art, like, because I've been putting that box art there in the frame wonderfully made by Holden. The one that looks the best and kind of like, I'm like, damn. Like, that says the most about the game in what it is 100% this one.
It's not official, is it?
Is that the Japanese box art?
Yeah, I think, the Super Famicom. And that is official.
Yeah, because one of the things I also found was that Nintendo had some like marketing sort of goodies that they had as part of this game's marketing push, and one of them was like a one-size-fits-all Vidya t-shirt, and I didn't get to see a picture of it, but it was described very similarly to what you have there, so I would hella wear that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, that slaps.
My boy Freedan and to Shadow Man.
Babbage's.
Yeah, dude.
Free
yeah, right. Okay, so just really quick, so two of the main people who worked on the game, first of all, the director and president of Quintet, his name is Tomoyoshi Miyazaki, and then the main director, designer, programmer, Masaya Hashimoto, both of them had prior work, prior to ActRaiser in, I think, whatever that was, 1990, had work experience on the first 3 Ys Games. YS. I
Ooh.
never know how to
Oh,
say
no way,
that.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeez.
Yeah, it was Yeezy.
Yeah, Yeezys.
You're right. I just thought that was neat. So it's got some shared DNA there. I think also Nintendo, when they decided to pick up and publish the game, because it wasn't always a given that they were going to be the ones to publish it outside of Japan, they really wanted to push the similarity with Zelda. You know, like, ooh, this is like a Zelda-like kind of game, even though it's not. So I just thought that was neat. Probably my favorite part like of my research that I did for this was that the premise and the background for the story, like the story itself and the setting, was written by someone who didn't write for games otherwise. So it kind of was hard to determine why this person took this job, but her name is Mariko Uhara. I'm hoping I'm not butchering that, but she's a sci-fi novelist.
Ooh.
Has a extensive fiction catalog, some really interesting and kind of dark themes in her writing, so that's pretty neat. She also was
that adds up.
the 10th president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of Japan,
Hmm.
which is tight. Let's see.
That reminds me of Mother, which was written by Shigesato Itoi, who is not a games guy. He was just a guy who did stuff, not write games.
So it's like an interesting thing for me to think about, though, because like, and this is I'm gonna briefly kind of go into an opinion I have on the game, but it is that time for opinions. It's like I found the premise and the setting and concept of this story to be really fascinating, but it was in all but very, very few situations super disappointed by the script. The writing and the translation in the game was like pretty flat-footed almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I see what they're trying to do, and I can extrapolate meaning from this, and I can think this is cool if I try really hard to like dig for these themes and find them, and they're there, but the writing is just balls most of the time. So anyway, one or two more things.
May I
Go
ask
ahead.
real quick?
Yeah.
When was the last time you played this?
So I had never beaten it before. I played it all the time as a kid, but was too stupid or didn't own it, was borrowing it from a friend or whatever. And so the farthest I made it as a kid was Mu, the Seaside Palace place.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because that I think is the hardest dungeon in the game, or was for me, not in terms of like combat difficulty, but I think that it's a pretty complex dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
In this game's context anyway. It's not like terribly complex, but the layout and the backtracking you have to do, and kind of like having a mental map in your head of what's going on and where you need to be and where you just were and where certain things are going to have changed, all that is much more in depth than any other dungeon in the game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about as far as I made it. So when I was a kid, that was it. So revisiting it here was really cool. There was one other thing. Sorry, I'm jumping over. There apparently, so like right before this game released, there was an English version ROM that was leaked onto the World Wide Web.
Oh man, the .coms.
Yeah. It differed in presentation and translation from the final English language. The prototype version contained a different title screen. Final version, it came bundled with an instruction booklet that contained one image of an early title of the screen. So people who were writing that were pointing out the difference in the final version which was like post Nintendo's decision to publish it in North America and PAL versus what was in that pre-release English ROM. So that was kind of neat. I think this game also pretty clearly struggled with translation issues. And then
big time.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, there was also a lot of like censorship from Nintendo.
I could see that.
Yeah, like there's in one town in the game, and I'm gonna shut up in a second because I'm rambling.
No, you're
There's
good.
there's one town in the game where I think it's like the second to last big city you get to. I forget the name, but you like find the slave trade there, and you can find it by interacting with like a statue, and that statue is like big. It's like as big as the wall where Will is. But in the Japanese version, it's just a giant cross. And same in South Cape, where you start the game, it's very clearly like a church school he's in, as opposed to just like a random school. And instead of reciting a prayer or a poem, he recites a prayer in the Japanese version. So classic case of like very, very strong censorship regarding religion, anything to do with it, which is it's interesting because all three of these games, and I'm kind of try to not talk too much about Soul Blazer, but Soul Blazer, Terra Enigma, and Illusion of Gaia all definitely deal with like at least indirect religious themes. Life, death, recreation, or I guess reincarnation, cyclical nature of things.
Yeah, like a
So,
a deity and like you said, the cycle.
Yeah. And then I think there's a few other things, but I've been talking a long time. So the last neat thing I saw was that there's apparently a randomizer for this that someone made. I don't know why the hell you play this in a randomizer format. That sounds like one of the least fun things I could think of to do. But
My red jewel is a red jewel.
Yes,
Jesus.
let's go.
Oh, good.
Probably find more in the randomizer.
You know what? We'll get to that.
Yeah, and then so did anybody? I'm assuming nobody found all 50.
No,
Red
I
jewels.
definitely did
Nope.
not.
So
Nope.
just on the subject, and then I'm gonna be quiet. The reward for getting all 50 is that the red jewel guy takes you to his like super secret Batman.
It's a
spooky mansion.
bonus dungeon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to look it up because I
Yeah.
was like, oh man.
But so that boss you fight, it's like called Solid Arm or some shit like that. It's actually a boss from.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a boss. It's a boss from Soul Blazer, and he makes a mention of. I didn't look this up like video or whatever, but the thing I was reading was like he makes a reference to you being stronger than Jobber from Soul Blazer. So that's
How dare he?
What
Yeah.
the fuck? Shit.
I thought the jewel trader was Solid Arm.
yeah,
That's like
he is.
who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, if I misportrayed that, I'm sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is really
Yeah,
cool.
Okay,
Definitely not worth it though.
right. Yeah, I agree. One of the many, I guess not many, but one of the valid criticisms of this game is that. So yeah, it's sort of like I talked about before. My experience with this game was I played it a lot. I was really fascinated with this game as a kid, but I really just couldn't either because I didn't have my hands on it all the time, or I got distracted with other things. I could never kind of like fully get my brain around it, never beat it. So coming back to it now and actually beating it was really neat. I think when I was a kid, I saw like I borrowed my buddy's cartridge and he had an endgame file. So I kind of like have a mental image of being Shadow in the pyramid. But I missed like anything after Mu, like I was talking about. So like it was cool to, slide tackle some Chinese guards in the Great Wall of China and steal first base or whatever. So that was fun. I had a really good time with the game. I thought the art and the music and most of the gameplay were really, really solid. Music was, I think, probably my favorite part of the game. Premise was really promising, but like I said, let down by the translation. Anyway, I went all over the place. Thank you, Danny, for humoring me. I'm going to be quiet for a while.
Well, no, I think you led us into the perfect segue, talking about like what the game meant to you and like how you started to play it. So like, it's probably good that we go around and talk about like our familiarity with the game, which I had a similar situation as you, except I wasn't young. It was just like, I think I've talked about it before. When I found out what Super Nintendo emulation was, I was a fiend. And I was just grabbing games and playing all of them. And I actually beat Soul Blazer, the first of what is called the Soul Blazer Trilogy, this being number 2, Terra Enigma being number 3. And I found out that this game was the next one. So I had to check it out. And I did. And I remember playing it. I don't know if it was like because I wasn't in the mood for playing this type of game, but I just kind of dropped it and forgot about it. I think I was maybe like on the second dungeon, so not far at all. So to actually come back and be like, I deserve to play this game because video game. I'm not gonna say I have opinions about the game before Soul Blazer and the game after Terra Enigma because we might be playing those. So I will just say I have played and beaten those, so it was good to come back and play and beat this.
Cool. I'll go next with my initial experiences with this game. It's kind of similar to Danny. I played Soul Blazer as a child, actually. Me and my older brother rented it from Blockbuster a couple times in a row and beat it. But when I was in my teens, I emulated this game. I got to the first dungeon, and I don't know, I just stopped playing it. I enjoyed it, I just stopped playing it, and I never picked it up again until we started here. That's why I was pretty excited to play it, and yeah, I enjoyed it quite. I don't know if we're just talking about our initial experience with the game, I'll withhold that for now, but that's basically it. I was aware that it was part of the Soul Blazer trilogy, and Soul Blazer opinion withheld. I'll just say that, yeah, I was happy that we were playing this.
I'll go next. I didn't know any of these games existed ever. That's pretty much it.
How dare you?
I
What,
didn't.
what gives you the right?
How dare you be
heard of
born when
Soul
you were
Blazer.
born?
I never heard any of these games. So that's it for me.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, Holden, don't leave us in suspense.
Hello?
Hello, is my mic on?
I have known of this game for a while. I knew they were related to Terraligma and
Whoa.
Soul
That's
Blazer.
it. You're out. Everybody go home.
But I hadn't played any of them. I've always been interested. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to talk about it more, to be honest. I just had no experience with it going in.
Same here. I was aware of the title, probably the box art, and maybe there was a point where I played it for like 5 minutes in an emulator. But if you had told me it was a turn-based RPG, I would have been like, yes, indeed. And then I probably would have said something like, I should play Final Fantasy IV again.
It's a Dr. Mario clone.
It's a real Minecraft Souls.
Oh, I should give it a rip.
The real question is, would it have been better as a turn-based RPG?
No,
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hard no on that.
No.
because I
We
think
had it out more.
the best thing about this game was just the way it plays, like the gameplay loop. That's what that's what
interesting.
surprised me the most, I think.
Talk to me more about the gameplay loop. So I feel like that's a perfect segue. Thank you, Chris, to talking about like what I feel might be obviously the biggest draw, or one of the biggest draws, is how this game plays. Because Colin's saying like they wanted it to not just seem like a Zelda-like action adventure. Like I enjoyed playing this game. Like there's like as complicated as a Super Nintendo game can be, like there was a lot of nuance to what you did, like double tap inputs, like shoulder buttons, charges. Like there's a lot of stuff to do.
Accidentally skipping text by hitting the D-pad.
Dude,
Oh my
bro, I couldn't.
Terrible.
Dude,
I
There were
really
times-
learned to stop holding the D-pad
know.
input when I press A.
there were times where I literally would go on YouTube and look up a long play so I could fucking see the dialogue.
Yeah.
I missed.
Yeah, I don't know who thought that was a good idea.
I did that multiple times throughout this playthrough.
I did it throughout the entire playthrough. Like even in the final boss section, I was like, "What the fuck did that? Damn it!"
Yeah. Same here.
But sorry, Danny. To your point, I completely agree. It's neat though because like some of the things I was reading were like people thought that maybe the gameplay was kind of bland because it's very predictable. It's very linear, in that it goes like plot, setting, town / whatever into dungeon and then repeat. You might get a power up or whatever, and then you kind of redo it. But it's so like my point about like the I think disingenuous comparison was to Zelda is more that Zelda I think has more puzzles that involve like what item to use, and you might have to use like different items, and it's not always just the item you just got. Whereas in this, it's like the answer to the puzzle is like 99% of the time going to be whatever weird new ability Will just got or something like that, you know?
And Zelda also has like an entire open connecting world, whereas this
Yeah.
was linear segments that connected.
and are
you could
completely
move
inaccessible for
around.
the most part.
Yeah, like it wasn't like
It was like
completely
chunks,
hallway,
though, right?
but yeah,
Yeah.
like you could move within. One thing I
Yeah.
did find out, I went on, well, like, because of the system we'll talk about later, I realized I missed like a level up thing. You can actually backtrack all the way to the beginning.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Like to South Cape.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. And there's only one
Wait, when?
permanent. There's only one permanently missable power up.
Whoa, when? Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can do it. I think after you finish the water area, right? So you get out of that village and you do the Great Wall, or it might be even earlier than that.
That would make sense.
But yeah, that kind of blew me away when I found out, because I needed to
didn't even know
know
that.
how many, because I don't know if you guys were like me, but I needed to know if I missed like one of the power ups. I had to.
Mhm.
You actually get all the power ups for the dungeon when you beat the boss.
I can't
Pretty
tell if you're
sure.
lying to me.
I'm pretty sure you do.
I think
I'm
you're lying to
almost,
me.
I'm almost certain that that's an actual thing.
According
I'm looking
to
this up after the fact.
2001 game facts.
Well, so Danny got to the same point I did and had like less. What was it? Health or armor or defense or strength? What was it?
Yes, and I actually had to go back to a dungeon where I beat the boss, Darth.
Yeah.
And it was
I don't know,
because,
man. Pretty sure.
listen,
Skill issue.
I'll fight you. It was a skill
It's
issue on
weird.
my
So
end.
I find that so fascinating because I thought there was for sure finite levels, and I was going out of my way to kill everything, and then roughly 3/4 of the way through the game, I just got lazy and was not collecting them, and then the boss rush at the end ended up being kind of hard, so I was taking a ton of damage.
I don't know,
Yep.
because I played half the game without even realizing how level ups worked, and I still ended up with like full HP at the end.
It's kind of games.
What's great is that the game
I
tries
know.
to like it tries to tutorialize you and tell you a little bit how it works, but the translation is so fucked. It's like, what the hell did that say?
Also, I
Yeah,
skipped
my
it with the D-pad.
My
On, like, the
favorite thing
third
about
dungeon, I didn't even know what was leveling
about
up.
the entire game was that leveling up. That's what I mean when I was talking about the gameplay loop. It's just defeating every enemy on the
Yeah.
screen and then getting
It's-
that level up. It's a good little
It's solid. It's real good.
dopamine.
I like it because you can't grind. You can't just sit there and
Yeah.
grind, and get
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
buff, and then just bulldoze the rest of the game.
Mhm.
So I enjoyed that aspect
Yeah,
of it.
it's a way that it discourages grinding in that sense, but it also
Well, the enemies stay
Incentivized,
dead. So.
participating with the enemies too,
Mhm.
which I
Mhm.
appreciate.
Well, it's wow, it's really weird. You put it just like that, Holden, because I have a note that says the system of powering up through clearing floors was a neat concept and incentivized participating in it. But then I put, but later in the game became tedious with the giant
yeah, and
rooms
that's when it
and
made me
literal
check out.
invisible enemies.
I went, oh, there's an invisible one in here. Let me check the map. Oh, there's 11. Nah, I'm gonna run through 'em.
I didn't. Normally tedious things in games like that, I will also be like, "Fuck!" There's like when we played Mystical Ninja. At one point, I was just like, "Let me just run right until the credits roll." But I actually found myself enjoying searching for every single last enemy and killing them, and I did
Yeah, me
in
too.
every dungeon.
same.
Yep.
I really liked it. Like I was like, yeah, I found the last enemy. The one part in particular that I really enjoyed was like that courtyard with all the bushes and the
Yeah.
fake bushes. Like
Yeah.
I love
Anchor
I
Wat or whatever.
really like that part.
How do you kill those dudes, by the way?
So I have a note about that too. That was one of the power-ups I missed because I went into the first area where they introduced the bushes and those guys and thought, oh, these guys are immune to whatever I have. I get something later that gives me the thing I need to kill them. But then later found out you have to hit their head to
Yeah.
destroy it to make the body vulnerable.
I had the exact same thought. I was like, oh, I'll get
Same here.
something later.
Yeah.
But then, like,
Okay,
I was literally just mashing, and I accidentally discovered that you
Yep.
could kill them.
I think it's a poorly telegraphed mechanic because it
Well-
doesn't it make the same sound as things that are like literally invincible when
No,
you hit the head.
I don't. No. It makes the damage sound. But
Yeah, it
there's
makes
no
like
number.
the hit sound. Yeah.
Jonathan
all
no
I know is I
numbers.
was hitting the head and the body because both were flashing and it
When
didn't
you-
die.
Every other enemy in the game, when you hit them, a number damage number
Yeah.
pops out. Not for them.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
why I
it's counterintuitive based on like literally the entire game before that.
No,
Yes.
because if you see the number, then it's, I don't know. That's kind of your hint, I think, is not seeing the number.
What?
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 I thought you had to. I just thought you had to be the knight.
Where am I?
Who are you people?
They might have an invisible health, like so the knight might kill them faster. Also, his name's Friedan.
Free
Free
Donnie.
Donnie.
Freed on.
Call him
I'll
Free
say-
Donnie in my head every time I read it.
I think well, I don't know. I'll just say it. I thought the whole changing forms thing was a little unnecessary.
Agreed.
I thought that they could have just given Will more abilities.
I agree.
I
And you want
liked
to know? You
the-
want to know why, Super? You want to know why it sucks even more?
Oh,
Is
oh.
because I think that it exacerbates the game's like most grievous sin, which is the sin of backtracking. Because oh my god, I almost quit this game. I messaged Holden. I was like, Holden, are we allowed to just not game?
Yeah, and I was like,
Yes,
it's
yes.
important to Claw, you should finish it, dude.
You could have not finished it.
Dude, I got to the part where you fight the vampires as Will, and I was already so effing sick of the game and of that area because that dungeon makes you backtrack.
Yeah,
so
look at
many
the song
times.
I posted
Yeah.
in games.
That's the dungeon I couldn't get past as a kid.
I
So,
hated that dungeon. It made
I
me like
also
so upset.
struggled with the vampire fight. Easily the hardest thing in the game because
Completely agree.
I think I had, or like the way the lives work is you respawn with half health, and then there was some point where I don't know. I was trying to do it as Friedan because you do like twice as much damage on the vampires, but I had to backtrack, and I can't remember the exact details, but it was a mix of like the bad checkpoint, respawning with half health as Will, or something like that.
Ooh.
Eventually,
I was so mad. This game like actually made me so upset at that point, and I was like, I will not backtrack again. And oh my god, it's been so long to beat this.
So what kind
This-
of backtracking were you doing? Sorry to belabor the point.
What kind of backtracking was I doing? Okay, pretty much every single dungeon has you backtracking in some way or another, throughout the whole thing.
You open up a new area.
There's
and
a
then you have
couple
to
points where you
run
need
back.
Free Donnie for the extra sword length or to do a
Well-
projectile.
So if you don't like it, let me just say this: if I get you're not a fan of that, that's totally cool. I'm not.
But he
I'm
hates
not-
you.
No. But as sort of like
Mhm.
the other side of it, I'm like, doesn't Zelda do the same thing? Like you do a thing over here in the dungeon, and then you have to like go across the dungeon through an area you already did, maybe fight some enemies you already fought
Yeah.
with the item you
so-
just got to, do something over there. You know what I mean?
So I think that the thing about like the problem with Illusion of Gaia versus Zelda is that a lot of the Zelda dungeons are a lot more like, a
Compact.
very large cube with like a lot of kind of like interconnecting rooms. But I felt like Illusion of Gaia was like more like most dungeons are like a central hub with a bunch of like fucking big long tunnels. You get all the way to the end of the tunnel, and then you gotta go all the way back.
Yeah, the thing
Okay.
when you compare the Zelda backtrack and the Gaia backtrack, in Zelda I picture walking through 2 doors and like pushing a block. In Illusion of Gaia, I picture sprinting down a hallway for 10 seconds. For no
And then
reason.
another hallway for 10
I think-
seconds.
Yeah.
I think I can touch on this with something interesting, which is that in Zelda, you pull up your menu for all your items. In this, as much as I like this game's level design, actually, you have to backtrack to the save point to make those decisions, where you can actually switch.
Mm. It's funny because I felt like, I'm not saying there's none, but my recollection of it was that typically when you needed to switch, you would have a save
Yeah,
point.
that's my argument
Most of the
against that.
time.
Which
Yeah,
is,
like linearly,
it was
it's like
almost
right
always
there, you know?
It was
Yeah.
pretty thoughtfully placed.
Yeah, I
most of the
found
time.
them were agreed, thoughtfully placed. But I'm not saying it's perfect, certainly, and you're more than justified in not liking it, Darth. No
That's
offense.
like honestly, I didn't like the switching because it caused me to backtrack like more in a game that I already had to backtrack a lot in, which is
You
like
hated it.
yeah.
I think
feelings.
one case of the poorly placed transformation windows, or whatever you want to call them, the doors, the dark place. What is
Dark
it called? Dark
space.
space. the transformation
yeah,
to
dark
freedom
Gaia
thing
pods.
was placed before the vampire. Like you couldn't transform in that room.
Yep.
Yeah, like in the
Yes.
first boss, it's like literally like right next to it, and then in the vampire thing, and I was like, I will not.
I actually
Oh,
like. There was one boss I was struggling with, and I was fighting him as young Will, and then I went on my way to switch, and then I destroyed it, and I was like, hey, that's actually pretty cool.
For me, it was the vampires, and that was like the biggest difficulty spike in the game. When you
Right.
first meet them, and then in the boss rush at the end. I was actually having to physically reset the console because I needed to do it with full health. So I
Yeah,
had to
me
reload
too.
the save rather than the checkpoint. And
I
that
was resetting.
Yeah, pain in the ass.
The first vampire fight, if you reset instead of using your extra life, you have to sit through so much dialogue and run so far to restart the fight. But I understand what you're supposed to do is just use your lives, obviously, but still.
Yeah, and do it with half health because that's all
Yeah,
you get
half
with your
health.
lives.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
I didn't really understand the point of that, honestly.
Did
I
you,
Punishment.
understand that.
did you buy
Punishment.
herbs? Did you buy herbs?
Wait, you
buy
can
'em?
buy herbs?
Yeah.
No.
It's like-
no way.
So it was funny. You guys are talking about this. It was like you sound like me not getting the magic in Faxanadu. Like there are healing items you can get.
Well, so
I'm-
Where do you buy them?
yeah, where do
I
you
don't
buy 'em?
remember. You buy
Yeah, there's
them?
like one vendor in the game.
Dude,
go
I
get
thought
'em.
you had to find
Where?
herbs.
Yeah,
I thought they just dropped and there was a finite amount.
Yeah, I thought they were just in chests.
I'd like 4 that I use at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I was carrying like 3 or 4 herbs most of the game. I think I
What?
used.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're somewhere in chests.
This game would have been a
talking to
much
people.
different experience for me if I constantly had herbs in my inventory.
I had
Yep.
9. I have a note that we'll get into the temple later. That last temple when you needed to pick up all those tablets, and I had 9 herbs in my inventory.
Man.
Oh,
I was hating life.
I loved
Just
that
use your
dungeon
herb
though.
Me too.
That was one of the dungeons I liked.
I liked it as well.
I really liked. I liked all of the dungeons, to be honest.
The
Yeah.
reverse Tears of the Kingdom Ascend ability.
Yeah, the one in the
Just
sky
over
where
the
you
floor.
go upside down. That was fucking sick, dude.
That was cool too, yeah.
Yeah.
Before we
And
move
it's
on
all
to-
reverse.
Before we move on real quick, sorry, hold on. I just want to talk about the transformation into Friedan one more time. Also, brief aside, transforming into Shadow sucks because he's lame. He's nowhere near as cool as Friedan, and
Yeah.
he gets hyped up like, damn, he's the ultimate warrior, but he's like, oh, let me just swing my arm.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but dude, have you seen the sprite when he's flying? Like
It's
you can see
it's
the
bad.
And
shadow.
also when he's sucking in the EXP juice, he's going Super
Also, you
Saiyan.
can shoot free birds.
Yeah, you can
Oh.
shoot
Dude,
birds.
the
That's
blind
what I did.
sprite. He's cheeked up, bro. He's cheeked up.
That
Same
ass.
when you're facing straight up.
He's fucking cheeked.
There's just
bro.
not enough hours in the day to talk about this game.
Did you guys know that using LRR as Will, Friedan, or Shadow will block projectiles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I learned that late into the game, though.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I was like
I used it the
really
whole game,
struggling
wow.
with I was really struggling with the final boss fight.
Oh my
like,
god,
the
if you didn't
latter
know
part of
that.
phase 2, and I was like, dude. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can block these, and it's okay, this is easy.
And then it becomes easy.
Yeah.
I forgot about it and the final boss, and I messaged Colin about it, and I was like, "Is there a
Oh.
gimmick I'm missing or something?" I gotta
Dude,
call the
did
Nintendo tip hotline, but I did figure it
I
out.
felt super big brain. I was using the liquid ability to dodge.
Oh,
the
to
I
dodge the
tried
yellow
that as
Yeah.
well.
levers.
Alright, I'm
The
not that
iframes
big
in
brain
that
then.
are crazy.
That is so fucking Holden. That is the most Holden
man.
thing I've ever heard in my
I mean,
life.
I was
dude.
doing it too. It's great.
Holy shit.
I did that first on the mummy boss in the wherever you first encounter her, because when she goes like phase 2 and spins around in an ethereal sort of circle, and you're supposed to hit one of the one that's not blinking.
Mhm.
I didn't see that. Maybe it was my refresh made it on my monitor or whatever. I just didn't see it for like 3 minutes. She's just spinning around.
Oh god.
And so I'm like, wow, is my fight bugged? And eventually I looked it up and was like, oh, you hit, and so, but I was using the meld into the ground to dodge the things when I would get pinched, because it had
Yeah.
the iframes.
I did the same thing in that fight.
Yeah, I never did the meld into the ground to dodge. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, absolutely not
just,
here.
just play it again. On the point of Friedan, and then I'll let us move on. Though I wish, like, I thought it was so cool though, like fighting through as dungeons as well. And he's like, maybe you're having a hard time, maybe you're getting your butt kicked or whatever. It's not a terribly hard game, but maybe you're a kid and you're having a hard time. You turn into like Big Brother fucking Friedan with your giant big dick sword, and you're like, come here, boy, and you beat that ass. It was just fun. I thought that
Glorious
was...
Monologue said
floating
as you're
hair.
playing the game.
Say what?
Is that what your inner monologue was saying
Yeah.
as you were playing
Big
the game?
dick time.
Yeah.
Especially
People
in
were
this-
watching him
in,
through the
like, this-
window.
second or third dungeon.
Slamming the D-pad.
Whoa,
I also
whoa.
really liked Friedan's run. His
Yeah, I like his
glorious.
run.
His
Fa-
hair
Fabio
waving
hair.
in the wind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
his
can't believe-
hair is glorious, dude. That's the only way to describe it. It's glorious.
Same with the
Hilarious.
cape. I can't believe this game had separate windy sprites.
Hmm. And then
Crazy.
actually uses them in
Yeah.
the game.
And like
Like-
kind of consistently too.
Yeah.
Like remember the one of the red jewels where the cave is making your hair
hair
blowy,
blow?
so you gotta
Yeah.
fly, you gotta slam into the wall.
Was that the Inca dungeon?
I think so. That was really neat though. I like that.
I had a hard
That
time
was.
with
I
that.
think
as a
that
kid.
was the angel, but yeah.
They
I
do
feel
it
like-
a few times.
Like the form switching, like I have notes about the form switching because
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
so if Holden dodging stuff was the whole quintessential Holden, me doing what I did, I'm not trying to be like, oh, isn't that a isn't that a Donnie thing to do? So I was convinced that Free Donnie was gonna have some kind of bad effect on the plot if I used him as a crutch.
Oh shit.
So I never used him.
That
Oh,
really is a
what?
you thing, though.
only
is like
It
fun.
is actually classic Donnie.
Yeah,
So-
dude, that's totally a you thing. You're
I
right,
beat
you're
every
honest
boss
on
as Will. Every
Alright,
that.
boss.
Oh my!
Bow down, dude.
Even though after I realized that you had to use Friedan, I'm like, that would be fucked up to like shoehorn you into a bad ending when you had to use him. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm staying. So the
Turns out
vampires,
Danny got the one true ending that
I-
no one's gone before.
I have a note that says 100% the hardest boss fight. I had to use 2 herbs. So I would have had 11 herbs in my inventory. So
Two.
thank God that
those
fight was
vampires.
as hard as it was.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, and just I became like I loved playing as Will because I don't know if you guys realized you were talking about the iframes of the dip into the floor, but that jump attack that you can do, the double tap and A, has probably 20 invincible frames.
It's crazy. It's
So
awesome.
that first boss, when his hands would appear, I would spam the jump attack. I would go through the projectiles. He couldn't hit me. And I was like, this guy's tight. Jump, hit, lol. And it was just like, I became addicted to playing as Will. Like, you can
That's
see
my
me in the
favorite.
gameplay right now spamming the jump attack.
It's fun.
It's really good.
And the form.
It's kind of awkward, but it's very
Yes.
Yeah.
enjoyable and satisfying.
Did you ever learn the technique where you can just hold A and then spam directions? and
Yes,
rapid
I
fire?
noticed
Yes.
that too. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you wonder
That
if that
actually
was?
kind of messed me up in some parts of the game as Friedan because I was trying to charge my projectile and run,
Yeah.
and he would just be like, step, 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 step.
It works very, very well on the final boss
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, interesting.
because you're just shooting in 3 different directions.
So do you think that was intentional or
No,
some like
I don't.
weird coding
I
gimmick?
think it's a
or...
glitch.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
glitch.
code-in thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it's a
clever
bug.
use of game mechanics.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
It's
Are you
like
trying to
in Ninja
discredit
Gaiden,
me?
I'm
where
wave
you can
dashing
cancel
off
your
to
slash.
the...
It's a directional
I
influence.
have a question for all of you. How did you feel about how this game's dash feels
I
in a
liked it.
general sense?
It should have been a button. Fucking thing
Yes,
sucks.
I literally have a note that says it should have been a button.
Considering
liked it.
how many halls I had to dash down, yeah.
I didn't mind it. But it would have been better as a button.
Oh,
like a
excuse
button.
me, not the dash, the slide. Pardon.
Oh,
Oh.
Oh, it's
I
fun
love
with
the
it.
slide.
Yeah, the slide is
Yeah.
good.
It
Slide's
kills
talk about
enemies very quickly.
Yeah,
also
it
does,
does a
like-
lot of damage.
Yeah, a shitload
and it
of
hits
damage.
twice too. If you space it correctly, it hits twice.
Yeah, like in the Great Wall, I made a joke about stealing first base because they would like those guys would like stand in the way, but if you started your dash attack like
Mhm.
at them, you would hit them twice and cross them up.
Yep.
And I was like, get fucked.
Yeah, getting
Yep.
that ability was really satisfying because it does a
Goes
ton of
under
damage. At least it was for me
projectiles,
at
yeah.
that point because I had a lot of damage upgrades. That's why the damage upgrades felt so good because it was always you felt it every time.
Yeah, you seen the
Yeah.
one extra number.
And the
Mhm.
sound effect that it played when you like beat all the enemies and got the power ups and like
Oh
the
yeah, satisfying.
the cool special effects for it. It was very, very
And it
satisfying.
explodes a door.
Yeah.
Damn, the triple.
Mm.
But
How about the I was gonna ask about another one. I can't remember. What were you gonna say, Donnie?
well, I was just gonna say, like, I like how like weirdly varied this is because Darth was irritated by the backtracking that Colin didn't feel and Holden saw like in like the design. I thought I bitched about the backtracking, also with form switching at one point, but I felt the rest of the dungeons, they flowed. Like you went back through. Yeah, it was like a little bit of a long time, but it never felt out of the way.
Agreed.
But as far as the form switching, especially since I was just Will, so I really didn't do it too much until they give you Shadow. I think you should have been able to form switch outside of the dark space, like an input for something.
Yeah.
Because
Cool.
there's one particular moment when you're on the Great Wall where you learn the tornado dash thing that ends up not doing anything for you after you learn it, and you have to backtrack after you've learned it to the previous dark room into Frieden to hit the thing where you learned the tornado dash. I was like, that was stupid backtracking.
Sometimes I would preemptively try and make that assumption.
Yeah,
like
that's a
Reddit.
good call. And then the pyramid that you guys liked, I hated that dungeon.
It
Oh,
takes a while.
It was
thought it was
too
cool.
long. I got to the bottom of one of the floors as the wrong person, had to go all the way back up, change forms. It was just like, get me out of this dungeon.
Sounds like
But-
I got lucky.
I
If you
loved it,
could
man.
have just changed forms on the fly, it would have been so smooth.
I agree. I won't defend it mechanically, but I wonder if there was a thematic reason.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because you have to go into the dark space to summon the spirit of this avatar or whatever. You know, it's like next to this statue, like we're seeing right here, actually.
Yeah.
Like I think, because the dark space is like, what I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, it fits with going into this realm with this with
Mhm.
Gaia talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Donkey Kong 64. There's a thematic reason for the DK barrels.
I'm not defending it. I'm just like, this is me. I came into the game trying to enjoy some of that, like, maybe there's subtext to this. Maybe it was an intentional choice for that reason, and I'm going to read into it to see if there was. I don't know if it holds any water, but maybe.
No, I think I agree with you.
I actually think
completely.
there was a ton of that in the game, and I assume it was translations and some of the development reasons you're talking about that it doesn't deliver a vast majority of the time.
Yeah, I would
I also agree, Colin. I just wanted to talk about Donkey Kong 64.
I thought it was funny.
Look
I like
forward to episode 11, Donkey Kong 64.
I quit.
Donkey Kong 64. I think that I don't know if we're gonna play Terranigma in the future, but I think Terranigma does a better job with its translation, and it hits those marks better than this game does.
Yeah, are we going to talk about how fucking terrible the translation and story
Well,
is?
Yeah, I think that this is probably, unless
Whoa.
anybody has any more like combat thoughts that they'd like to mention, I think it's probably a good transition.
I would like to say that a flute is stupid to hit with.
Oh yeah, so
wonder what
I
that
didn't
thing's
know
made
it was
out
a
of.
flute. I was telling Colin, I took my notes like this as like a long play where I just put my thoughts, and one of the time I said the flute ? What? And then
Yep.
like 10 notes down I put, oh, the flute is his weapon, and then that's when I realized that was
Yeah.
the
It's
flute.
purple.
It's purple.
Yeah, I just like the image of like some like 12-year-old swinging a flute around it like in monsters. It's like,
Yeah.
That's why it's so cool to turn into Fabio over here with his giant sword.
Mhm.
oh yeah, he definitely it's
Beat
definitely
some
way
ass.
cooler. Well, I also thought it's kind of jarring how different the other characters look. Like you go from like this little kid to like this big old giant like
Yeah.
muscle man.
Yeah,
like 8 feet
he is
tall.
like 4 times the size.
Yeah. But one more thing that I had about the combat, or just
One
like
more
the
thing.
gameplay, was I really, really liked the way you push and pull things with the shoulder buttons.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really fun addition, not just as a way to collect items that were out of your reach, but like for puzzles. Like there's a few puzzles where you need to do that, and I thought, I was like, hey, this is cool. Because like in other games, like with certain puzzles where you have to push things around, it can be a little difficult because like you push one side and you're like, oh, you have to like do it very carefully and walk around. Like,
Yeah,
no,
you
this
can push
you just
but can't pull.
You
Yeah,
need to drag
exactly.
the mummies over the switches. It's like, how
Yeah.
do you get them to line up? Oh, you pull them. I'm so dumb.
yeah. I thought it was. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
I have
Totally.
one more sort of mechanic comment. It's while Kara and Will are on the raft.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that. So this note is from like 3 weeks ago. I'm just going to read it verbatim. Hope it makes sense. There's a connection between Will's health bar and the number of days that passed on the boat.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know if it was like half a blip per day or something like that, but I thought that was cool. I really, despite shitting on the translation, with it, I think is almost all bad. The translation on the some of the text on the boat was pretty cool. I liked the. I think that there were some scenes like that didn't just shit the bed, that showed pretty good character growth.
You
for
know
the
what
character.
scene was really good growth? But I literally was thinking to myself when Will is like, you remember the underground tunnel with where the water's coming
Yeah.
through?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment where he's like sitting looking at the water. I remember thinking to myself like, dang, this kid's like grown up right now. And then
Yeah.
some character comes up and says like, Will, you've really changed. I went, dang, this
Yeah.
game had one little moment where it like the narrative actually hit really well.
I think
Well,
it had
that's-
more than
it's-
one. I think it had
And
more
then the
than one.
pig sacrifices.
Oh god, don't get
It's
to that, but I can't.
I mean, it's cool though, because like all the characters do. Even
No, there is.
all of his like homies. On the point of the squad though, Neil, his character and what it does in the story, he's like a walking Deus Ex Machina, and it pissed me off every time. He's like,
Mhm,
I have
I
an
agree.
airplane.
Yeah.
I have
Listen,
another
man,
airplane.
he was Jeff.
Another
He was
I
Earthbound
have
Jeff.
Like, where'd this
Smuggling gear,
airplane come
like,
from? Like,
what?
You're at your parents'
I've been
house. Why
working
do you
on
have
it.
another airplane?
It's
But-
called the biplane.
Hey, dude, his parents are filthy rich. They can get whatever they want.
That's what it's
You-
like being
Well, they're
rich.
also fucking dead. So.
Was it?
Oh, they're also dead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it mandatory that you see them, that they're actually like ghosts? Yeah.
Yes, you had to use
like
the dry
skeletons.
tears on him.
So, I know you wanted to move on, Danny, but
Oh, no.
I do think, like, in the microcosm sense, that this game, in the towns and the little stories that they tell, if you go out of your way to talk to the NPCs and even just do the story events, I think they do a pretty good job, generally speaking, of like duality is a very broad term, but they show like for example, to get one of the permanently missable red jewels that powers up Will
Oh,
and
yeah.
ultimately his ability to save the planet or whatever, defeat Lavos, you have to sell out a slave back into
Mhm.
the slave trade to get the red jewel. So it's like
I couldn't
think-
believe
yeah.
that, dude.
Yeah. I
the
think
question is, who did that?
I did it.
I did it. I want that red jewel.
Yeah, give me that
Fucking
red jewel.
bastards, dude! I can't
I
believe
did
you
it and
sold
loaded
it
a
with that
save.
laborer.
Well, I think it fits thematically with the game.
It
You know?
does. That's like the biggest theme in for sure. The different like the classism, right?
Right, exactly. And for a kids game in 1990, I didn't get to say when this came out because I forgot, but it was what, 94 in the
94, I
US.
think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty deep. It did a pretty good
It's-
job.
The themes,
I think. Sorry, I'll let you go.
the themes that they try and tackle in this game are like, I wouldn't call this a kids game. I definitely
Yeah, this
wouldn't.
game is
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah, it's super heavy, and like to fully grasp what they're trying to talk about, you have to be a grown person. Like you can't. No
Well-
kid is gonna fully be able to grasp what they're trying to talk about. in this
yeah.
That's
game.
why I didn't like it. I'm 5 years old.
Well, it's heavy, but like it would immediately drop that at the drop of a hat, and then be like, "We're a quirky JRPG again."
Right,
It's
yeah.
like, what?
It's
So
just like
confusing.
it's
So
the translation
fucking
itself, I think, or
Right.
it's hard to tell if it's the translation or the actual writing, but it sounds like it's written by a 10-year-old or something.
I
A lot of it is just really
appreciated-
stilted and
Yeah.
The dialogue, yeah, like the way the dialogue is delivered, yeah, feels stilted. But I think the idea behind it is not. I think that's pretty. It's, it's not just basic good guy bad guy type shit.
Yeah, like
I
it
like the
definitely set up
premise.
moments where you were like, ooh, and then the dialogue started and you're like, oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we compare, for the poor souls who haven't played Final Fantasy VI, I'll be vague, but for the people who haven't played it, I was directly comparing the fishing raft scene to You guys know the scene I'm talking about?
Ew.
Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
where
VI?
Kefka kills Dumbledore.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
Very
Okay. It just didn't like land anywhere near the same. You know, like these kids have been eating fish and shitting on a raft for 18 days. Okay.
They shit into the ocean, bro.
Like
They're not shitting
day
on the
3, I
raft.
was feeling for them, but
Yeah.
I think they're chilling. You know.
Oh man, it's funny to me. I thought that these parts were the best parts of the game. I fucking hated all the dungeons. Just hated them. But
That's
I
insane.
thought that
Darth.
these parts were like the good parts.
I think Darth
I-
Zoomer
I
is
mean-
kind of showing right now.
I can see why though, Darth. Like, because everybody knows that when doing the Zooters, I kind of sometimes shit the bed when I get tired, or like if I have to do the water temple and my brain just doesn't grasp it. Like I have trouble with visual puzzles, and so there were certainly times in this where I really had to think about like, okay, where was I just now? What did I see? What could something could have just happened based on a switch I just pressed, you know? So I could see it being frustrating if you couldn't. I'm not saying you're dumb or anything, because I'm dumb, but like if you couldn't grasp like the intuitive connection in the dungeon between something you did and where you should be going next.
I think
can
the
see that being
reason
a
that
pain.
I liked it so much is because I've literally never played an older video game like this that tried to tackle themes like this. But I played a lot of games with like dungeons in them that are way better. But like I don't think a Zelda game has ever made me think nearly as much as this game has
Sure.
about the themes. So that's what stuck out to me, and I thought the kind of mid dungeons were just that,
Yeah.
if not worse.
That's fair.
I respect
I
it.
like. I really feel like now that we're talking about the themes and the story,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the developers had just as much passion and they cared just as much about the message and the story and the theme as they did the gameplay and the game design and the graphics.
Mhm.
I feel like it was right up there on the priority list for them because you can really feel that they cared about what they were trying to say. They
Mhm.
really did. They put a lot of effort into trying to get certain points and messages and ideas across. Especially the fucking ending, dude. I'm like, all right, I beat the game. Like, okay, like, and then the text slows down at the end. It's like, okay, like it's like beep 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 beep, one letter at a time. But anyways,
Yeah, it's
anyways,
really
that's besides the
egregious.
point. Um,
Beep.
I gotta say, like, this story could be a little cheesy. It could be a little whatever, a little sophomoric, if you will. I don't think that's the right word, but I don't know. I enjoyed the story. I liked most of the characters. I felt the development, the character development, and I enjoyed the interactions between the characters. I liked it, and I felt I don't know, like when it was all over, like at the very end screen when the game freezes, I was like, wow, I've come away from this like glad I experienced it, and
Oh, I felt too.
yeah,
I'm tearing up.
I liked it a lot. I really like this story. I'll say
Yeah,
it.
yeah, super. You make a good point. Like that, they put as much like care into like the narrative. Where like you have a lot of games where it's like, here's your final bad guy, like maybe a plot twist, new final bad guy, like this is what you're doing. Whereas this game, it didn't feel like a means to like drive what you were kind of like doing in the game. It felt like this is a plot that's happening while you're playing the game. Like it wasn't like I got to go to the next town because I beat the dungeon. It was just like, here's what we're trying to figure out. Like this is the world you're in, and these are the people in it. Like it really felt like a setting rather than just
Yeah.
a story to push you through.
Because every town you went to had like a separate little tale to tell. Like it felt like the people there all led lives that all had stories, and everyone had somewhere they came from and experiences they've been through. Like especially the town that's on rafts, I forget what it's called, and you
Yeah.
go to the gambling hall and you fucking play that game, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first part of the game where I was like, oh, all right, this is like not like a game for kids. Like this
Yeah.
is like a fucking heavy game with adult themes.
So do you?
And then like you go to the dude's wife's house,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
his wife's house, and like she gives you a note from him, and like it's like you just like basically got this woman's husband killed, and now you're like in here talking to her, and she's that was where I was like, wow, these like Danny was saying, there's a lot of games that have stories and plots that people sit down and they make an outline and they talk about and they write the plot, but they're just writing the plot to create a plot, right, for the game because the game needs a plot. It felt like not the plot they created in this game wasn't just something that they were making up to be entertaining. It felt like it was something they cared about and they believed.
Right. Yeah.
It
Yeah, I
really
agree.
did feel that way.
Which like kind of goes to some of the developer commentary I did hear for Terra Enigma. I don't remember. I didn't write it down, but they did for that game, and
Mhm.
it stands to reason that they would have for this too. You know.
Yeah, I really felt that come across pretty strong in this game. Like the translation is weird, but like you can get the overall gist of what's going on. Like
Right.
you can understand what's going on, even though the translation, the dialogue is kind of not so good at some points.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, pardon, go on.
no, good.
I was just gonna say, Colin, I asked you how far you got as a kid because this is a little tangent, but I played Secret of Evermore a couple years ago for the first
Oof.
time since I was a kid.
I'm sorry.
And I was really surprised that the music and art was so good, but the writing was like not good. Like
Yeah.
it was actually kind of disappointing playing as an adult.
Square of America or whatever.
Yeah, and although I still enjoyed playing it,
Right.
it got me curious. Like, how was your adult expectation of this? Like being critical with it in comparison compared to your like childhood nostalgia. Because let me answer or say this real quick. Going in with like no expectations as an adult with this game, I found myself actually pretty forgiving of it. And you know, not being held down by like nostalgia. So yeah, I'm curious how you feel in that regard.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think when I was a kid, I played this. If it came out in '94, I would have. It was September, so I would have been 6. Yeah, maybe 5.
Checks out. Checks out. Six.
Math? Yeah, because I would have been turning 6. So
You're
I was
turning
like,
six.
Almost 200 years ago.
when I was kid. So I was like really little, right? And I, if I'm right, dude, if I'm projecting myself back then, I don't have any memory or conceptualization of having whatever, any understanding of what the game was about. But I
Mhm.
remember being really, really taken with its atmosphere in the way that a kid can grasp in like what it looks like and what it sounds like and how it plays. So I think my resonance with it was on that level, and I had
Yeah.
no real concept of what the plot was until I played it through now as an adult. I honestly felt like I've talked about this, so I'm not going to belabor it, but the translation was my biggest beef with the game because at some points it was so bad I like didn't understand what was happening, you know. And I'm like, I went to school for English. I don't think I'm stupid. I'll grant that maybe I misread or misunderstood things, but like until like I was looking up some like critical analysis of the game. There's actually a few out there that are kind of interesting, but I had to like look one of those up tonight to like, what the fuck was that ending? What happened? You know, because like
Yeah.
they use this like weird phrasing like the Earth has returned to its true form, and I'm like, wait, but the comet just got here. What? How
No,
could?
but the Earth evolved, dude.
Yeah, no, but it's like they can't really consistently phrase how long the comet has been affecting the planet, and like, so it's very hard to like context clue exactly how long this has all been happening. And sometimes with my brain, not being able to really pin stuff like that down totally throws a wrench in my gears of like understanding and appreciating something.
Interesting.
But I think back to your original question, like I was also very forgiving with the game because, you know, I had such a strong resonance with it as like a sensory enjoyment, you know, from when I was a kid, that coming to it as an adult and really appreciating the depth of the themes, even though that their delivery was kind of ham-fisted, you know, I found it to be pretty well executed. I think I answered your question.
Yeah.
I could add one thing to what you were just talking about with like, you said you had to look up what was going on, and like the thing about how long has the comet been here? There's true form. For me, especially with older games that have questionable translations like this, my default stance is to just give the game the benefit of the doubt. Like
Yeah.
your question, how long has the comet been there? I thought the same thing, but my answer was the proper amount of time for it to work
Right,
with the plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
To do
that
whatever it was
just-
doing.
Yeah, so
which
like,
is the right answer. Yeah.
right. So I just found it interesting that you like wanted to look into that more, and I thought that's pretty cool. Like
It's
that
a very
you were-
cryptic game zoomed out,
Yeah.
so
It is
it's
very
got that
yeah.
mysteriousness to it from start to finish, where you want a deeper meaning. At least I
Oh,
wanted it.
I
And
absolutely agree.
another thing that confused me, which is at the very end of the game when the screen freezes and they're in school,
Mhm.
where the fuck's Lily?
She's in Will's pocket, dude.
Yeah. She's the flower outside the window.
Okay, dude, all right. But like, I don't know, because I kind of was like, oh, where's Lily? Because in the story, her and what's his face, fall in love.
They're
and
in a
I'm like,
different school.
No, but the dude was there, and Lily wasn't.
She's
He
in the
shouldn't even. He
pocket.
probably doesn't even remember her or whatever, right?
They hit the sprite limit.
No, I know he doesn't remember her, but still, I'm like, she was part of the crew, dude. Where is she?
But yeah.
It's true. I didn't even think about that.
That was I was like, what the fuck? Like at the end of the game, I'm like,
I
where's
didn't even,
Lily?
I didn't even think about that.
Oh
boy.
Here,
Because
this
like
is-
I actually liked the characters. Like I enjoyed them. Like they felt like deep, like real characters. Not like super deep, but deep
Mhm.
enough for me to like be interested in them. And yeah, Lily wasn't there at the end. So I was like, what the fuck?
She didn't make it, bro.
I guess not, dude. Like she fell in the ocean when all the continents are moving around. No.
Holden, you were gonna say something?
Oh,
what were
this-
you- I was gonna say.
Oh, go on, Darth.
No, I was gonna say, Holden. What were you gonna say?
Okay, this is really an irrelevant detail, but like, with the game calling them, like every NPC calling them children the whole game, I was like, where are they, like 10, 12? And then you find out they're like 15.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, like, that's just gotta be weird translation.
Yeah, probably. Like young people is probably more.
I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you're right. No, I bet they were more like like they were calling them bonchos or something.
Yeah, mega
I don't know. That was
bonchos.
just that threw me off really hard. The
I
whole
don't know.
game.
I didn't know they were that old. I thought they were 12 the whole time. in
When
real
I
life.
see teenagers in real life, they look like fucking little babies crawling around. So
That's
I
true,
mean,
but
I,
like,
I
if
get
you
it.
saw, like a 15-year-old, would you be like, "You child, you should not be here. You are a child."
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would talk to a 15-year-old that way. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Listen, Darth, you
What?
child. How dare you attack Collins?
Yeah.
How old,
I'm
well,
old
how
as
old are
it.
you? If you don't mind answering, how old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 28.
I think give it 3 or 4 years and you'll feel the way I do.
Damn.
No, I feel similarly. Like Darth is a baby boy, but like it's the way the game says it nonstop where it tripped me up.
I think it's to like kind of drive home the point that like in this society or like in this culture, like kids are like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like they're lower than adults, and adults are like, hey, you, like, you don't have to be polite to children, basically, is the way I
That
felt.
does add up with like the theming and stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to be like too overly critical.
Well,
but-
I agree. Like, I think in the first town, they're like kids shouldn't have weapons. Like,
Yeah, and well, there's a guy who says, this was one of my favorite moments in the game. When you jump down from the roof and you're talking to that guy in front of the window where you land, he's like, that was a cool jump. Let me show you something. I was like, here comes a red gem. And he slaps you in the face. And he says, kids shouldn't be doing shit like that. And I was like, oh.
enjoyed
And then the
that, too.
weapon vendor refuses to sell you a weapon
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're a child.
Um,
man.
did
You know
any
what?
of you? Oh, sorry. Go on.
Go
I
ahead,
was gonna
Darth.
say, I thought the game depicted really well like a long journey.
Yeah.
You know
Yes.
what I
Mhm.
mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah. It's a
like I
big
actually
adventure.
felt like the journey happening, like them being on the raft for like I don't know how long it was, and like it was like
A
a
month,
month
I think.
basically, yeah. And them like actually instead of being like, oh man, those crazy were trapped on a raft for a month, they use it. They like they put in like little scenes between the characters, and it's like, oh, how did they survive? There was like fish, I thought that was really cool, and I also thought how it was really cool when they're going through that tunnel for like, I don't know, a month as well.
Mhm.
You actually see it like wearing down on them.
Yeah, like you're like, ooh, somebody's like, this might not turn out well.
Yeah, they're like, how long have we been walking for? Blah 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 blah. I just thought that was really cool. That was one of the things I noticed about the game, is that it actually depicted what felt like a journey, and it kind of showed how much it was wearing on the characters, which was
Definitely made the game feel cozy in those moments too.
it made it feel more grand to me, because otherwise it's just like you're just on the overworld and your character just like walks over to the next town.
How about that mode
Do you-
7 world map though?
But do you think that
Yeah,
like
for real.
the sense of them going on a journey was in any way, well, I won't say good or bad, but anyway, impacted by the fact that they were like visiting the wonders of the world? Like the Great Pyramid and etc.
I think that I don't know how I really felt about that, because to me, really, those weren't geographically accurate in like distance between each other.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
But
Like,
wasn't that sort
Yeah,
of explained?
That's yeah, that
it is.
the world got all fucky.
But I don't think that really added very much to the feeling of a journey. They could have been going anywhere. For me, it was actually showing the day-to-day wear of a
Yeah.
journey on the characters that made the journey feel real,
I'm with you.
which I thought was cool. I don't feel like games do that very much.
I thought it.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that, but at the same time, I felt every time they were like, "Oh, we've been here for 4 months or a month or whatever." There are a couple points in the game where they bring that up, and it's like I didn't feel that. They said it, but I didn't necessarily feel
Yeah,
it.
it's a very jarring thing to kind of read and just accept.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah,
It's
there,
like
there
they're
were
walking
moments
through
where
the
it
tunnel.
showed it well, and moments where it just happened.
Yeah, that's true
for
too.
sure.
Where they would like walk through the desert for like 4 or like 6 days, and you'd just be like, okay, well, now we're at the fucking whatever they're called, the signs.
God, the
in
kangaroo
sand or
chocobos
whatever.
crack me up. By the way,
Excuse me, hold on. They're not kangaroo chocobos. They are called hopping crux.
that's a kangaroo chocobo, dude.
Sounds like a bigoted word, to be honest.
Oh god,
They're
you're
dogs.
canceled.
Okay.
I'm
They're
Didn't
canceled.
the game say that they were like, not crux, but that camels were some sort of like man-made
Yeah, they just,
creature,
like, talked about
Yeah.
camels
Yes,
randomly at the end.
That's
like a bioengineered thing with the
Yeah,
bones
they're-
or
they're
something.
like- advanced.
things themselves.
Yeah.
Like, that's how camels got made.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a pretty
I
lit
didn't
up
see
plot
one
point.
though.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
they're-
Just, and by the
they're
way,
invisible,
camels,
too.
we
Yeah.
bioengineered those to be perfect.
And that's why they
Something
spit.
A crazy person would say.
That's why they have humps.
I made camels. Yeah.
Grandpa, it's time for bed.
Yeah,
That's
good.
funny. I feel like that fits well in one of my notes and what Super said earlier when he said like the game, like sometimes it was confusing, but you could almost kind of like it was, you kind of thought suspension of disbelief enough for the plot. And one of the notes I have says like the plot, I enjoyed the plot because of sometimes it just gave you just enough to think about that you were like, oh, like are the Moo people the vampires, but the evolved form, like they give you that kind of like nibble to think about, and then later in the game it kind of goes off the rail a little bit about the bioengineering and the comets fucking up evolution, and this is how demons got created, where the translation kind of might go batshit, but the game gives you that, like that you can think about and make that connection before explicitly telling you in the worst possible way that you're like,
For
oh
sure.
yeah, okay, well yeah, I guess I was kind of right.
Did you, speaking of the evolved form of the Moo people, did you gather what the angels were in the subsequent dungeon? Like, did you get that part of it?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That was a nice like, oh
Because
shit.
they're the evolved Moo people, but their lives are also like devoid of any meaning.
Yeah, but they lost. Like they might
Yeah.
have evolved, but they also there's a
The whole,
quote.
like, having emotions thing. Was
Yeah,
a
the
cool
one guy
little side.
says, I don't, I think I have the note, like the literal verbatim. But he says something along the lines of like, I don't smile, I don't laugh, I just live. And I'm like,
Yep.
fuck.
And the people dancing,
Yeah.
so, like,
Same.
understand the point of dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I didn't
Yeah.
pick this up until reading one of the things I was reading tonight, but there's a lady in a room in that little, I guess, town, whatever you want to call it, who actually, you walk in the room and I think she's standing in sunlight, and that's implied to mean that she's just decided to kill herself.
Damn.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah.
because there's
They can't be in the sun.
what is the point of living?
right.
Damn, dude. I never even thought about that.
It's
That's
fucked up.
That's crazy.
Oh,
I mean, it
that's-
fits with the rest of this game.
yeah.
Is full of really dark moments.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. Like anybody like listening to the sound of our voices, like if you want to experience this game, like the kind of like heavy feelings without everything being pushed in your face right now, there were so many. I had to start noting them
Same.
because I felt like my note is like I like the characters, but sometimes their plot development just happens. It's like, hey, this is Neil. He has a plane and his parents have a Ferrari. Like sometimes stuff just happened. But then you have like the moments where Lance asks you like, hey, I really like Lily. What should I get her for her birthday? And I said, kiss her. And then he was like, okay, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, fuck, I just picked that as a joke. And I thought I fucked everything up. But like their development is real. And so is Kara and Will's. Like when it takes the time to develop it, I really liked those little moments with
Same.
the characters. But then it was
Absolutely.
Agreed.
so jarring that each town had that. Like it almost had more of that than the characters did.
Right.
Like, and the examples I wrote, the dying man super touched on this in the raft town. He was gambling his life for money for his newborn child and his wife that he knew he was gonna die and leave
Oh my
behind.
god, I love that shit. That was so,
So,
funny to me.
like,
that was
and-
insane.
And it kind of hints at it because when you talk to him, he's like, "Oh, I've got a cold, cough," and then he leaves you the note that's like, "Hey, I'm dying. My family's set. If you can use the hop and crux, go for it."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna save this one for last because this happened before the next one I'm gonna say. But when you go in that room and you're in the desert town and the music shifts to that music that you posted, Super, that is haunting my brain as well. And the guy, like you're sitting there, there's the 6 women making the rugs, and you talk to the guy, and he's like,
Yeah, that's sad.
these ladies start from like age 5 making these rugs, and they're gonna work till they're 40. And he just
40
says
years
like,
to make one rug.
yeah, it's like his dialogue is sometimes you just get a shit roll, like sometimes you
Yeah.
have a bad life. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
That's
Yeah.
real as fuck,
Man.
man. That's
Yeah,
real as
you know
fuck.
it's cool actually. In the first in the palace where you find Kara, they say that the king's rugs took 40 years to make.
Oh shit.
When you first get there, and you're like, oh wow, that's really crazy.
You're like, how
Which is
elaborate,
really
how
cool
cool.
because then at the end, after you've seen all this like, you know, all this shit about like slavery and all that, you get to the slavery town and you're like, now you actually truly understand what it means to have a rug that takes 40 years.
Yeah,
to
it's
make.
not just like, wow, what a nice rug. That's so fancy. It's like, yeah, you blood rug, you dirty money bitch. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
like
be
the-
honest, I was gonna say like when you guys were talking about that red jewel where you like sell out that guy, I don't actually think that was meant to show a duality of will. I think that's meant to make you be actually given the same sort of dilemma that everyone in that type of society is given,
Mhm.
where it's the question of like, will you hold your morality, or will you like sell it basically? You know what I mean? Like all those slave traders are doing.
Yeah, I loaded
Um,
my save. I wouldn't do that. That's weird.
For sure.
Give me
But,
that red jewel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why that was put there in the first place, is because of that.
It makes
that
sense.
thing.
Yeah, I agree because it's basically saying anyone could be in this spot. Like like these people, like you see them in the slave trade, and you're like, wow, those are bad people. They're selling human beings. But then it's like, oh, here's Will. Are you gonna do it?
Yeah, look how easy it is.
Yeah.
A red
Well,
jewel.
And like
ooh.
Neil's family is so
Fancy.
prosperous, and that city is so prosperous, and it fuels the trade all around the world. So like all the conveniences of life or whatever that everybody has is like
Slaves.
tied to the slave trade.
Yep.
Also, on that
Which is
note,
our
one thing
real life.
right, one thing I forgot to mention about the jeweler, I only read this in one of the things. I didn't see any gameplay, but I think the gist is that like he's actually like one of the big guys behind the slave trade because he gets power from the red jewels and he wants the slaves to like mine for red jewels. So he's like perpetuating the slave trade so he can have red jewels to like feed himself or some shit like that.
Damn.
So like even the you gotta get 50 red jewels, which nobody's ever gonna get without a guide. Thank you. Even that has ties to the
Like
theme
dark
in like cool
undertones.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole game is dark, like the entire thing.
The darkest, heaviest tone. Let's get this out of here.
Village?
Oh my fucking
The native
god.
village.
The nerve of this game to finally reintroduce you to Hamlet, to set up exactly what he's going to do, and you know what's gonna happen.
God.
And he
just to do
jumps
that
on the
quote, though.
fire. Oh,
Dude, if you inspect the fire after he walks in it, it literally says the air is filled with the aroma of roasting Hamlet.
no.
Yeah.
It's
I have
fucked
a
up.
note that says OMFG Hamlet. No.
But there's that dumb line right after. It was like to eat or not to eat. That is the question.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
remember? Oh,
Yeah.
it's so dumb.
It's funny too. The skulls in the vine area. You know the skulls that fly around. They're called
my God.
Yoriks.
Oh, that's silly. I was wondering why there were skulls. Can we talk about needing the water on the stalk? The green.
About it.
Did you
Yeah,
guys all
you-
figure that out instantly?
I hate
Yep.
that dungeon. The worst.
Oh, you mean like where you have to like
I don't wanna
use
talk
the
about it.
Use the
item?
mushroom water
Oh,
on
yeah.
the.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
that's the
I
kind of
ran
thing.
around for a solid half hour.
That's the
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
thing I would miss, but I actually got that without.
Yeah.
So did I.
I got it
prompting.
instantly.
Yeah, I think the old dudes mention it in the town like-
Yeah, I think that's right.
that stalks grow.
I made it a point to talk to literally every single
Yeah.
NPC. So a lot of those things they talk about.
The one thing that stumped me in dungeons was standing on the plate for like 30 seconds or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, that
I
got me
literally
too.
pulled up Google sitting
Yep.
on that plate.
Yep.
I never Google in games. And as I was Googling, it unlocked because I was standing on it.
So
yeah,
you
so
didn't-
I did stand on it for like 10, I don't know, a couple seconds. I was like, no, it can't be that. So I had to look around for another half hour or an hour, and then I finally game faxed it up.
Yeah, I looked that up too because I was like, man.
That was annoying.
Wait,
There's
what
no-
part-
I don't
what
think
part
there's
are you
any
guys talking
indication.
about?
Yeah,
In
I'm
the
kind
first or second dungeon, there's a spot
Yeah.
where you, at
Play the
Can't-
flute and it makes a
I-
golden square pop up. And then you have to stand on the square for like 10 seconds straight.
Yep.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's at the end of the dungeon Danny's doing right
Honestly,
now.
I was trying to place statues on it, running around. I went through the whole dungeon twice over.
same.
Me too.
I don't
So,
even remember that.
I don't
one.
think. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Super. In which that makes me feel like I don't think you have to stand on it like a.
You do, 100%.
Well, no, but I'm saying I don't think you have to stand on it in one go. I think if it's enough time held down, it happens. So I must have fucked around in that room long enough and stood on it, and it happened.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Like it has to
I
be.
literally
a
have
total.
no memory of this. What you're talking about at all?
Well, I do, and it made me sad and angry.
Me too. I'm with you.
Same.
I guess I just got lucky or something. I don't know.
I had to Google it.
Gamer God.
Oh, okay. One thing I want to mention is just a neat little thing. I mean, I think it's neat. When you pause the game and like the map pops up with all the little enemies, like I was thinking to myself, if this game was made on the Atari, the whole game would just be the map.
Yeah,
It literally
yeah.
looks like it. It's just funny, like how games have come along at this point. Like during the SNES, like the map is basically what a whole game was. You know.
Yep.
I just thought that was a
We're
funny
so
thought.
spoiled.
yeah.
Yeah,
Weird thing
Super
about
Nintendo, it's cutting edge shit.
I was checking the map, like turning it on and off as I was going down one of the Great Wall of China holes. And I noticed the enemies, the enemy placements on the map weren't scrolling up as I was unpaused. So imagine Will's flying down the screen vertically.
Mm-hmm.
As I was checking the map, they were going left, going right, going up, going down. The map wasn't consistent at all, which I found.
No, I know exactly
Humorous.
that same thing happened to me.
You're like,
I never
"This
even
is
used the map, to be
kinda
honest.
helpful, I guess.
I never used it I mean, I paused the game and the map came up, but I never like opened the map and like, okay, where's the next enemy? I just ran around until I found shit.
I was just like, I need to beat this game, and I need to find the enemies.
Because it's important to Colin.
Because it's
Right.
important to go.
You're lucky. I beat those vampires.
You hold
okay.
me in high esteem, and now you no longer do.
I was like fuming. I was like so mad at the game.
I was pretty
I'm glad
close.
I beat it,
The
though.
vampires were the hardest thing in the game easily.
Yeah, the vampires are crazy.
Next time, Darth, you don't have to beat it. I'm glad you did, but you don't have to.
Yeah, you did.
I would not have felt right if I had only gotten that far, and we were talking about it right now.
I would have made fun of
Oh,
you. I mean,
I know,
whatever.
more like I didn't want. I got the FOMO. You know what I mean?
I'm
One
gonna
more
say
thing-
something. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say one more thing I want to mention now that we're talking about like dark moments in the game. How about when Jackal fucking burns
Thank you.
to death?
Thank you. I was
that's pretty
eyeing
insane.
my notes here because I'll let you
That's cool.
continue that, Super. But I have to know, did anybody else think it was Will's dad?
Who, the
No.
Jackal?
Yeah,
No.
No.
because
No.
I can't even remember
his
who that is.
hair looked just like him. Will's dad had been missing, and he's been stalking him the whole time. I'm
Like,
like,
you can see that.
wait a minute.
I
And
thought
then
the
you light
Jackal
him
was
on
just
fire,
an
and he
agent of the king.
and he fucking burns to death in the most metal Super Nintendo sprite way I think I've
Still
ever
crawling.
seen.
I was literally shocked when that
Me
happened.
too.
It's a very elongated, elaborate.
Yes,
And the way
that's
he
long.
crawls towards
like
Kara.
an over crawling animation, then lying
Talking
on
to
the ground
you the whole
crawling.
time.
Yeah, that
And,
was
like-
yeah.
I just like when he's done burning to death, when he's done moving and he's dead, and like Will and Kara are just standing there. Like when that scene happened,
job,
when I
Will.
was playing, it shocked me. Like it literally, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like what the fuck? So when like all the dialogue was over in that scene, I just stood there in that room with the
Yeah.
with the
Just kinda
corpse still laying
soak
there
it
on
in.
fire. And my thought was like, here's two teenagers standing in front of this fucking burning human being who just like died in the most brutal way possible. Like, whoa, this game is fucked up, dude. Like, holy
If
shit.
you re-enter the room, it's a skeleton.
I did not re-enter the room.
Yep.
And
I didn't see that.
Kara asks a pretty poignant question too. Right after that, which is I think something along the lines of like why do humans hate each other or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
An illusion of Gaia.
You know? Yeah. Oh, she
We
just
live
says
in a
illusion of
society.
God. Yeah.
I think that part kind of had like a little bad translation as well because like she like after she said that it was like I forget exactly what she said, but it was kind of made to convey that she was angry at Will for lighting him on fire. Because she's like, "Oh, I forgive you. You're just trying to save the world." She said something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What the fuck?" That I was like, "Okay, that has to just be bad translation." Like, I don't know. Like, I found that kind of odd because like it wasn't really Will's fault. The fucking statue blew fire. I mean, he activated the statue, but he didn't know it was gonna.
Yeah,
light
like
him
it
on
might have shot a
fire.
poison dart or like just
It could have
something.
done like a confetti could have come out. I don't know, like but instead it fucking immolated him. Yeah, that part to me was like that stood out in my mind. Like I was like, wow, I've never seen anything in the Super Nintendo game like that before, ever.
And then even then, like he tells you that like he's not the bad guy. He was following you at the behest of the king, and like he said something about the king
Hmm.
that he was like having Jackal stalk Will to get a sense of Will's powers or something like that. So like
Mhm.
the king's actually like super crazy evil, and Kara's like, damn, another reason to hate my dad.
Hey, you did.
Yeah, yeah. This I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of any other Super Nintendo game I've played. I mean, obviously, like RPGs they deal with themes, but nothing like this game. Honestly, I like nothing. I've never played a game specifically from this era that was this heavy. Never.
Well,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy because, like, in the modern development scene, you'd have a head of like directors and producers being like, "Nope, these things do not mesh well for our target demographic." But back then, Enix was like, "Let's let it rip, dude."
Dude, they let
Yeah, I
it
don't-
rip. This game never stops hitting you.
really hard.
They didn't have a fucking committee of investors combing
Yeah.
over every line to make sure it's sanitary, you know? Or you have a fucking goody two shoes Mary Sue and hero who's invincible and is mostly controlled by fucking cutscenes, and you press a button every 15 seconds. Anyways, I went on a tangent.
I love it when you do that.
Modern games suck. Fucking
trash,
Anyways,
dumb.
Reason is one of the most redeemable ones for why I enjoyed playing the game at the end of the day. Like why I was like happy to have played it, you know?
it felt like,
Agreed.
yeah, I felt like instead of just playing a game for entertainment, I felt like I absorbed a piece of art that was meant to be appreciated, and I did.
Yeah.
Briefly
That's
on the
it.
topic. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's going back to the censorship. I just think it's funny that they censor crosses, but everything else in this game, like people burning alive and all the heavy shit.
That's
Totally
the
fine.
most like America in the 90s
Yep.
thing. I can
Yeah,
think of.
yeah.
That's a
for
good
real.
point.
Damn.
If this game had a
Very good
single
point.
boob, oh my god.
NC-17, baby.
Speaking of that kind of, no, my horrible childish self and the juxtaposition of what happens to Jackal in my notes, because I wrote, okay, this is metal, and like parentheses, that fire sprite is really nice. Holy shit, that's metal. Oh my god. And then my next note is mommy kind of thick.
That's right. I was like, dude,
It was like,
I
hey,
think we all
whoa.
did. Holy
redeem.
cow,
This game is
16-bit
redeemed.
graphics.
That's funny as hell.
So I'm a moron, TLDR.
Nah, dude, she kind of thick.
Yeah, she was,
Fight.
yeah, she was alright.
It was best boss fight. I'll say that.
Actually, that boss fight was tried doing that boss fight as only Will. When Colin was talking about like dipping into the floor and doing all
I
that,
was
I'm like,
doing that list,
sounds
dude.
You
nice.
did it as only Will.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
I
God,
figured
that-
on that's the fight where you have like the two layers and you have to,
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I think if you jump down, you have like pretty
That's what I was doing. I
yeah,
was
you
doing
got
a
invincibility
circle.
frames there.
Same.
So
Just
Same.
circle
The
it.
jump attack will actually go through the ghosts, and if you slide through to the other side, they take long enough to come back that your jump attack goes through it invulnerable.
That's kind of an on
Nope, missed
paper
that.
not good boss fight, but was fun to execute on for me. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
I liked it
feel
more than most of them actually.
So
I thought the bosses were kind of like there was no real like smooth, gradual like difficulty curve or like
Yeah, they were a little all over the
progression.
place.
they were gimmicky. I think.
There was one that was hard, and the rest were just like, here you go, here's a boss.
The first fight at first, it's like holy shit! It's like overwhelming at first,
Yeah.
right? You go into the fight and it's like, you're dead.
That intro for that boss
But
is also
once-
badass.
Yeah, the boss looks cool as shit, but like I found with most of the boss fights, and it's not most, the few that actually kind of gave me a little trouble. Once you learn like a few basic strats, like it's you kind of just tear through them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were talking about the vampire, like you fight the vampire and it's like, oh god, that was fucked up, and you finally win. And then the next boss fight is like the most free thing in the world.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's
Sandworm.
weird? The vampire fight gave me no issues, but and then the boss rush it did. So I don't know what happened there.
That's Holden.
What was the next boss?
Did you fight the vampires as Freedom?
I don't even remember now.
I bet you did.
I think with the vampires, I just, as Frieden, just like walked up to one and mashed the attack button.
Yeah.
And then it
work
ran
very well.
away, and I just chased it and continued smacking it in the face, and it died. And I was like, huh.
that was one
Yeah.
fight where having a run button would have been very nice because running
Just double
down
tap, dude.
no double tapping up like a narrow corridor. It's
Dude,
It's double
I
tap,
didn't know you could blow up those statues that Danny's blowing up. Literally every one of them I've vacuumed from a weird angle.
Well, I think
really?
there's one you have
Yeah.
to.
No,
What?
the one that you're talking about before this, I
Uh-huh.
came at it vertically from below.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
It's wild.
now that's the Holden.
That's yeah.
There's like a herb in there at the end of the
It's
day
so
or some
dumb.
bullshit.
But yeah, like Colin was saying, like I guess I don't know. I guess I overthought the vampire fight for like a few attempts because like it's like, oh, they shoot down the corridors, or like, oh, then they shoot that big ball that bounces once off the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and when you hit them, they create the little orbiting balls around them. And I'm like, okay, here's how you dodge that. Here's when they do this. Here's how they do that. Okay, when they're here, get out of the way. And then I'm like, I just run up to them and smash attack them.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
'Cause you do your DPS is so high.
Yeah. I laughed when I discovered that you could just do that.
I tried that. I tried it multiple times and it didn't work for me.
You needed
I don't
more
know,
herbs,
herbs were just
dude.
built different.
Speaking of
Maybe
mashing
you
on
didn't
the,
have as much health or defense, or I don't know.
yeah, maybe
No,
you
I
didn't
was
have
getting
stamina.
most of the upgrades. I don't know.
want to make one real quick observation.
Yeah.
I thought every time you try to use an item without an item equipped and it says you're not equipped, I thought that was like really funny in the context of Will as this like, I thought he was 12, apparently 15, whatever, as this kid going through this journey, seeing all this crazy shit. Yeah, he's not equipped to deal with this shit.
He's not equipped. As he's
The
checking out.
jackal burns to death.
You are
You're
not
not
equipped.
equipped.
He's not emotionally equipped to
Yeah.
deal with this shit.
Yeah.
Like that.
Like the ultimate, like that's like in Breaking Bad, where it's like Walter White's wearing an orange shirt, and it's like, did you know that actually the reason he wears the orange shirt? It's like on that level, but it's like no, like I get what you're saying. It's just funny. Like if that was intentional, that's hilarious.
Oh, I doubt it. It just
No, I
it made
know,
me
but-
laugh, you know?
But yeah, it is definitely funny.
You guys
guys
talking about
really-
how you mashed through that boss fight? I thought so. You're in the Tower of Babel. You're at the end of the game. You run into the boss rush. This is a video game. I thought the way, like in that moment of, because Super was saying, and I think I think it was Colin that said like you get Shadow, and he's kind of lame. Like he kind of sucks. Like in terms of like his attack and like the stuff he does. But the fact that you get thrown into those boss fights as Shadow and you literally just walk
You
up
feel
and
it.
just mash, you're like, oh, okay, he's
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
crazy buff. Like
He
these
just
fights that were giving me
annihilates.
trouble, I'm just going crazy mode. So I like that.
Yeah.
That was a good.
That was
like,
a cool moment.
you're so
I
buff
agree.
now.
Yeah, it's good when you
Yeah.
just do. You feel like.
Yeah, I was
stronger
getting
than you
shredded
do
in
against
that
all the
part.
enemies.
That's so weird to me, Holden. I
'Cause
literally
was
walked up
completely
and
under level.
mashed.
The rest of the game
Oh,
was so
well,
easy.
That was probably
That's
it.
the vampire still fucked me up.
They were hitting me for like 4 health nodes every
Holy
fight.
shit.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's a good
Whoa!
point because like your defense goes up too, and not just your life. So that's you get like double
So I think
extra
I had
difficulty.
2 herbs to get through the whole boss rush, where
Jeez,
like
I didn't
every
have
boss
any
was hitting
left,
for that
dude.
much.
Darth had the game. PP Deagle's out here.
I mean, I fought the vampires so many times. I feel like I actually like didn't take damage against them. As
He
fucking-
ascended.
But that was actually something I appreciated. Because like I thought the game was way too easy, so the fact that it punished me for rushing was something I appreciated toward them.
You get fucked.
Yeah, I got shit on by every boss, so I learned how to fight them.
Chris,
Fuck,
I
that'd be
wanted
bird.
to ask, how does this game look on the CRT? I want the CRT test.
Like all Super Nintendo games on a CRT with component. It looks
Wonderful.
amazing.
Because this is being hypercritical. I've been saying too many nice things about the game. I found the art to be pretty good overall, but sometimes a little inconsistent and a little bit amateur hour sometimes.
Can you
But
say the art?
You have an example?
Yeah.
Can you?
like
can
if you look at
specific...
all the protagonists, like the sub pixel details, like it's a very
Oh yeah, like
highly
looking at Will's
detailed game.
tunic, his hair. Like,
it's a style I like a lot, but a lot of people are unrightfully critical of that nowadays. So like the hair colors popping really hard is like pretty normal and like anime style for this era. But that got me wondering, like, I bet this game looks a lot better on a CRT than our displays, specifically this game.
I think you're right, but I think that of every game.
That's fair.
You said
I don't know.
subpixel, and I'm like drooling. What?
Like,
Okay,
Oh.
let's. So you see on the screen the like super dark black lines for the actual lines.
Yes.
You don't see
Yes.
that in like almost any other background in this game, but this one they did. I know that's like super nitpicky, but those are the like consistencies in style.
Hmm.
I'm talking about.
okay, alright, that's fine.
No.
I just don't have an eye for that stuff, so I
Same.
appreciate you calling it out.
I will say one thing though.
It's character in general, everything from the music to the art. So it's not really. It's a little nitpicky, but it's also like I appreciate its style in general, right?
Definitely not the best looking Super Nintendo game I've played
Shut your
or
mouth.
anything, but
I think this game is beautiful.
yeah,
It is a really good looking.
yeah, I definitely like
Okay.
looking at it.
I will say that when you brought up the thing with the CRT, I'm in the camp of I love seeing big old squares on the screen,
Mhm.
Me too.
sharply
Let
defined.
me see
with
how
edges
clean
that'll
that edge
cut you.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
love that
The thing about component on a CRT is it's pretty damn sharp too.
for
So
sure.
It's the best of both worlds.
Speaking of things that Chris liked looking at, I had to go to this note that's like halfway through the game that I wrote. Where is it? Oh yeah, I bet Chris really likes this extendo neck Kermit monster in Ishtar Cave. So I need to know, Chris, did you like the extendo
Did you?
neck Kermit?
I'm trying to think of which one the
By the
thing
angels,
with the
right?
head.
So not the ones in Anket, like the temple area, but the one in the cave with the mystical painter, where they're just like green frog guys, and they have like a Kermit head, but it doesn't have eyes, and it like tries to bite you.
I can't even remember.
Reminded me of Castle.
He didn't like them.
He
I
didn't like him.
I know what you're talking about. I think he would like them.
You
Well,
would
now
I
I
guess
know
what
to
I'm
get
saying
it
is this
for
game was
Christmas.
so there's nothing memorable about this game for me.
He hated it.
He hated it.
I'm kidding.
All right, well, we're creeping our way to like our final thoughts, but I just kind of want to go over the music.
I was gonna say.
How did
Mediocre.
Super hit or miss for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
liked the dungeon themes, like that they were kind of unique, and some of them were really good. Like the game had some really good pieces, but also having played Soul Blazer, played and beaten, and Terra Enigma, a lot of the like type of music, the way it sounded, was really familiar to me. So it wasn't like super new and like, oh, that sounds great, because it was like, oh yeah, I've heard this before.
I think with the music, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it did its job, but there were never really any moments where the music like was super memorable. Like you hear like Mute City or Simon's theme or something like
Mhm.
that, and it's like, oh shit, this is like fucking iconic. Like this is instantly recognizable. I don't think this game has any of that with the music, but I still think it is good and enjoyable, and it does its job. Even though it's not like it doesn't stand out.
For me, I pretty much agree. There's just the one song, the Hidden Village song, that I think is amazing. The
Yeah,
super peaceful flute one.
I think it's just it's serviceable. It's totally fine. I've heard a lot of the songs because I listen to a lot of like Super Nintendo mixes on YouTube while I work and stuff. And then I tried to revisit the soundtrack to listen to, and I was finding it kind of annoying outside the context of the game, which is not something I would generally say. Like, I like a lot of Super Nintendo music, but yeah, just
Tell
not
you what,
not great.
within the context of the game, that one song that plays, the one where you like first hear it when you go up to like the sky temple. It's
Mhm.
like the
Yes,
I
yes.
hate that song. I hate that song. I hate that song so much. Like I was like, whenever it like would repeat, I would like my blood pressure would raise. Made me mad. I really didn't like that
Start
song.
foaming at the mouth.
But I did really like the song, like the one that's super posted. That kind of like mystical one.
That
Yeah,
one's
one
really good.
That
too.
sets the
goes
tone.
super hard. I really like that one. Pretty much all the other ones were forgettable or annoying, in my opinion.
I think my favorite song was the South Cape town song. It's reused,
Yeah,
but
that's a good one,
I
too.
think of South Cape.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a nice peaceful village theme.
I think it's actually playing right now, like in everyone's ears. That is not you guys. I also think the ending theme, like in that whole slow text crawl, like as you're sitting there, like on the comet staring at Earth, I feel like that theme hits in like the exposition that's going down.
Yeah, I agree.
Title theme reminds me of Final Fantasy V.
I can definitely hear that.
Me
A
too.
little bit.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's got the same kind of MIDI instruments, I think.
Mm.
Final Fantasy V soundtrack is like a billion times better, but yeah.
I'm shaking.
Dude, Final Fantasy V has legendary fucking iconic tracks.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all of our kind of like positions, like what we think of each overall gameplay, themes, plot, music, design. I think it's time to wrap it up. Start flinging out some final thoughts.
I want to go first,
Go first.
just because I might have to dip in a second to
I
take care
gotcha.
of Myra.
Mhm.
First of all, I know this was way longer than anything we'd picked before, so I even
It
if
took me
you-
30 hours, dude.
shut up. Even if you didn't like it or didn't like parts of it, or you found yourself struggling to get through it for life reasons, I appreciate everybody making time to at least give it a shot. It sounds like everybody beat it, so that's even better. But
Bravo.
so first of all, just thanks for playing. I'm gonna keep this brief. I still really like this game. I'm just as sort of captivated with its atmosphere as I was when I was a kid. I'm gonna give it an 8.25 with
Beautiful.
a lot of points taken away for translation.
You
And
usually
what-
give 2 scores.
This is true. Okay, hang on. I jumped in first and hadn't thought about that.
What is the croc out of 10 for this game?
Yeah, for real.
Croc is a dog turd compared to this.
So true.
and I like Croc. No, so I think honestly they're pretty close in this. I don't really have numbers to back it up, but I enjoyed this game about as much as I think it's sort of in a commensurate manner to its the merit it deserves. From a critical lens, it's certainly not perfect. It fumbles in a lot of. It fumbles the potential of the setting and the story, I think. But what is there does deliver the themes if you go out of your way to really talk to the NPCs and try to engage with the game. But I could see why if you kind of approached it impatient, or Danny will love this, like if you're trying to beat it just to get it done for the book club, like you're probably gonna have a much worse time. Not only is it long, but you kind of have to meet it where it is. You got to meet it halfway. It's not just gonna like give all these themes to you, which some might say is better. You have to work for it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I see that. I
That's
feel that.
that's my take, and thanks again for playing.
Thanks for picking it.
Yeah.
I'll go next. I love this game. I absolutely fucking loved it. Like, I think this is my favorite game that we've played in the book club.
I'm so surprised.
Jeez.
I really do. I
I'm so
really
surprised.
think it. I enjoyed almost every single moment I had with this game. The only parts that I didn't like were a couple of the boss fights, but when I learned how to fight them, it wasn't bad. I honestly enjoyed every aspect of this game. Like, I didn't mind the backtracking at all. I thought it was fun. I liked the combat. I liked the music. I liked the story, the characters, everything about it, basically. Huge fan. If I had to give it a rating, I would give it 8.75.
Dang. Juicy.
Loved it.
All right. So
That's
now,
beautiful.
Darth, I feel like since you probably have a opposite end of the spectrum, hit us with your take.
Sure. So, in terms of the gameplay, I was pretty much like frustrated for the most part of actually trying to like navigate most of the dungeons, which kind of I think made the game a worse experience for me overall. But I do think that, for all the reasons I already stated, I do think though that the very unique themes sort of brought it back towards the middle for me. I thought that the music was honestly kind of middling. So I think overall I probably want to give it a 6 out of 10. And I think that's only especially after discussing some of the themes with all of you guys, because I felt like after discussing the themes, I don't feel like I can give the game lower, than that, because I feel like that disservices how unique it actually is, which is the only reason that it got that high in the first place.
No, I definitely feel that. Like that's happened to me in book club. Like I've had it happened to me with Contra 3 actually, because like I'll take my turn to go about Illusion of Gaia, but what happened in Contra 3 was like I played it and I played through it again, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I had my time with it, but I was like, it's boring. Like you do this and then whatever. But then in the discussion, I was like, you know what? A lot of the stuff we were doing was pretty cool. So like I feel that. This game, however, like I talked about how I've played and beaten Soul Blazer, Terranigma, the Soul Blazer Trilogy. This was number 2, the missing piece of the puzzle for me. And I'm gonna change one of my picks to Terranigma. I'm gonna say it live reveal because I want us to do the Soul Blazer Trilogy. Like
Oh my god.
like playing this, like all the games are different enough, and you can see each game in all of them that it feels right to do that. And I've played both of those games. I'm not gonna say anything about that, but doing that made this game more of an experience for me, and I really enjoyed it. And like a lot of the times when I'm playing games, especially, it's gonna make me sound like an old man, I don't have the most time to play video games anymore. Like when I was a kid and like I had time to play video games, like yeah, I'd fucking dump 5 hours into a game. But now for me to put a juicy amount of time into a game, like something's gotta hook me. And this game's like theme and plot really did hook me, because I was like, oh fuck, like this is like this world, it's so heavy, everything's dark, we're on this journey, we don't know how it's gonna end, we don't know what's going on, and it gripped me. So I enjoyed the gameplay and I really just wanted to keep going, so I put in some healthy sessions of this game. That being said, that pyramid at the end fucked me up. I was so over that with the form switching, and it might be because I was scrounging in there and I made some mistakes in the wrong form and it took extra long. But that really hurt my, like, because I put the pacing of this game was phenomenal. Like it never dragged. Like I really enjoyed it, but then that happened, and overall, I still really enjoyed it, but that put it at a solid 7.5 out of 10. And I won't say where it ranks in my Soul Blazer trilogy, because that would be giving away what I think of those games.
Nice.
But yeah, very much enjoyed, but it had bugaboos.
Next.
Chris, would you like to go?
Hold on,
Sure, I'll go. So for as long as the game was, I actually had the least amount of notes for this game than any game so far. It didn't resonate with me as much as it did some other people, I think. I couldn't really get past the translation, which is probably the worst translation of any story-heavy game I've played, honestly. But I can appreciate what it was trying to do, especially after hearing everyone talk about it. That said, I enjoyed the gameplay quite a bit. I'm glad I played it. I don't think I'll play it again though. And I'd still play the Soul Blazer trilogy, the rest of the games. I liked it enough. But yeah, not my favorite of the games we've played so far. Of the games we've done so far.
And what
And that's-
arbitrary out of etc. would you give it?
50 red gems out of a dying Hamlet.
I knew you were going to incorporate Hamlet. I was just waiting for it.
I came back just in time to hear that.
All right, Holden, would you like to close this out here?
Yeah, so I made the comparison to Final Fantasy VI for its narrative, at least one of the plot points, and I think the really direct, obvious one we somehow didn't talk about was Link to the Past. I mean, even looking at these big chests on the screen,
What's that?
there's a yeah, what's that? There's a lot of overlap. And this is gonna sound really harsh opening up with this, but this game made me really appreciate the really good games on the SNES, Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Link to the Past, and like kind of showed why they shined for me, because I think this is a pretty good game, and we talked about issues with maybe localization, translations, whatever, but it doesn't. I didn't come out of this game thinking like, oh, it would have been so much better if this was this way instead of that. It kind of just didn't quite land the cohesion and like really awesome vision they had. It was almost a little over ambitious in my opinion. But like we were saying, really unique experience and all sorts of design decisions that, although they didn't mesh with me personally, made for such an interesting experience. I'm really happy I played the game at the end of it, and when I saw that final screen, it was a journey, and it was a good sense of accomplishment. So it's a harsh score, but my objective score I'd put 6.75, but subjective I'd put an 8.
I agree with everything you just said, Holden. Especially, it made me appreciate certain other games like Final Fantasy and stuff, especially with the translation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to playing the other 2 games.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be so
You're gonna-
good.
You're gonna put Terranigma on your list, Danny?
I'm definitely putting Terranigma on my list. I would like to. We're here at the end. I just want to say, like I was saying, the game has the hits that kept coming. This game, in its final fucking scene, when you're like, I beat the game, hits you with the most heavy fucking real life correlation comment. The quote that says, only the people of Earth are smiling, and now Earth is the only one who is sad. And I just wrote, God damn. Because
they just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's like the last dialogue line. Like there's the epilogue picture, but that's the last dialogue line, and it speaks to like real life. Also, super really weird side point. This is the square they're talking about on the gameplay.
Trying to see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just got past that room. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think I just fucked around. I tried to put and I get off of it.
Here.
So this is actually really interesting that this is where it came up. Because you look at my dumbass trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, this is me, and then I ran out and looked at the whole dungeon.
Oh.
So I got back onto it, did a little dance, charged, talked to it. So maybe I do just stand there long enough.
Stood on it for long enough.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But no, this being the longest, it was perfect that happened. This being the longest game that we played, I enjoyed playing a longer game. Like maybe it was because I also enjoyed the game, but I took a lot of notes. I did it like a long play style, and like maybe this was the right game for a longer game, but it definitely felt good. So Colin,
it's nice to be more invested in something too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So good pick, Colin. Good pick.
It was a good pick. It was a good pick.
Oh, I just want to say one thing that's stupid. You mentioned that was the last dialogue in the game, and I have a note that says the final text of the game says we have had a lot of traffic accidents lately.
No, the last one that counted.
That's literally the last text that's printed on the screen.
And then they're like,
the game.
Let's go play in traffic.
It's like freeze frame.
It literally says they warn the kids about crossing the street, and then the final words on the screen are, "We've had a lot of traffic accidents lately." And it's like,
the end.
I just thought that was funny.
That is really good.
Also, this game invented Short King.
Okay, funny thought. Before we started, Colin and I were talking. We were in the voice channel, and he sent me a Discord DM that said like it was the screen cap of like him being called a Short King. So I had to naturally send him back the screen cap that I took, the only one that I took, which I will put up on the screen.
I
is
also took a screen cap of Short King.
right
I
here.
think like 4 of us did.
The guard says, "Oh, Short King, look
Yeah,
there."
That one too.
I
Like,
took a screen cap of it also.
This is way too funny.
and then also, I didn't take a screen cap of it, but I distinctly wrote a note that said, Kara having a dialogue box that just said, "My feet hurt, destroyed me." Well, yeah, overall,
funny.
it was
That's why
a
she
it
can't
was
buy
a
me Street Fighter.
it was a great experience. And speaking of great experiences, here we are to pick our next great experience. Everybody's favorite time. It's wheel time.
It's wheel time.
it is
Spooky
wheel
wheel
time.
time, right?
It is spooky wheel time. For those of you at home, we are going to be playing a Halloween themed game, and by
I hope we
Halloween
get
themed,
Eternal
I mean
Darkness.
it's going to be a little bit spooky. And by that, I mean it's a game that has maybe some kind of spooky element, not particularly horror. So let me get up the spooky wheel.
Nah, get up.
So funny.
I kind of want to take my game off the list because
Okay.
I didn't really feel strongly resonant with anything I could think of.
I just said that was the one I wanted to play.
Yeah, I changed it though because
Ah.
I think it's too long for the
Wait,
amount of
what was
time
it?
we have. It was Eternal Darkness,
Oh,
and we only have 2 weeks, so I switched
Have you
it to
played it
medieval.
before?
Yeah,
Oh, I like that pick too.
so I switched it to medieval. We can keep it if people seem like it, whatever. But I kind of want to play the other games more than playing
I
medieval.
think I agree that Eternal Darkness is probably too long for
Yeah.
2 weeks.
I
So-
too agree. Sorry, Holden.
I'll play it on my own time.
Let us know how it goes.
You and me, we'll do a podcast on it.
That's
We'll do
right.
the
Video
duo-
Game Book Club
duo cast.
Extra.
I kind of hope it's Castlevania just 'cause-
VGBC Gaiden.
That's right. All right. So yes, these are the picks. I picked Fear, the PC.
Fear's good.
Bug. Yeah.
You can't say
I
Fear's
fear.
good.
I yeah. Holden,
a
get
good.
out of here. Uh, the other games that we've picked that we will not express any opinions on. Holden picked Clock Tower for the Super Nintendo. Chris originally picked Resident Evil 1, which is a great game, and I can say that because it's not a pick.
Dang.
I have still never played it, the original, but I love.
That's crazy. I
Oh.
figured everyone would have played it like five times. That's why I didn't want to pick
Yeah,
it.
and I still need to play it. I was kind of hoping we would get that, but I'll play it another day. Darth picked Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I think that's Super Nintendo, right?
yes.
Yep.
And then Colin changed his Eternal Darkness pick to Medieval Sir Daniel Fortescue or Fortesque for the PS1. And last but definitely not least, Super's pick of Castlevania Bloodlines, a Castlevania game that might actually be good and not Dracula X. But that's yet to be determined. But let's find out what we'll be playing.
Oh my
By a hair.
Oh, my
By
goodness.
a hair. I was already about to tell you bitches to fork up $10 because you were gonna have to buy it.
I'm fascinated by this game here.
I finally have to play this. I've been meaning to play it for so many years.
Video game.
I know like nothing about this.
Yeah.
Same.
Let's see how we feel about it.
I
That's
bet I'm
it.
gonna hate it.
That's video game. Well, we'll find out. Like we said, this is going to be like an accelerated one because we've got 2 weeks to play this. But I feel like this is a good fit for a 2-week spooky Halloween themed game. But
Is it
yeah,
fairly short?
I don't know. Maybe play it and find out.
Okay. Maybe I won't.
No Counter Strike for
I
you
mean-
until you do.
That's
Sass
right.
Club.
I was gonna say let's start the Counter Strike right now.
I was like, oh god. But as always, gentlemen, super fun times, and then, you know, life gets in the way sometimes, but we didn't let that stop us. Here we are, episode 7, Seriously Casual. Colin, Super, Darth, Holden, Chris. I can't say how much fun this is doing this, getting together, and really looking forward to the next one.
Likewise.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, we're gonna go. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks everybody in the chat. Thanks everybody for watching this on YouTube. If you do, if you don't, whatever, you're missing out. By Goot. And yeah, so that'll be the end of Seriously Casual, episode 7, Illusion of Gaia. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later.
Goodbye.
Thanks as always. I'll catch you later.
Bye.